Both companies have dozens of superheroes with high-flying abilities, but underneath all that flash and glamour, they have a bunch of differences as well.
You know what, Reed? This is who we are. Accept it.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 differences between Marvel and DC Comics.
Avengers, time to work for a living.
For this list, we're looking at a variety of aspects and details unique to each company's management and production styles that mark significant details between them. Even though they both crank out superhero stories, there are some fascinating differences between how the two companies go about it.
Let's count them down.
Number 10, Marvel has more superhero teams.
Hey there, what's up? Shazam. I'm with him.
He's not with me.
We can honestly just explain this by listing off a few of the many teams that Marvel Comics has brought together over the years. First and foremost, there are the Avengers, possibly the most widely recognized ensemble in the Marvel Universe, although they're still rivaled in popularity by the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Man, I love this job.
Job, huh?
Not only do these teams have tons of variations, but Marvel also has the Secret Warriors, the Inhumans, Alpha Flight, the Defenders, the list goes on. While DC's Justice League and Teen Titans are more than a match for what Marvel has to offer, they really just aren't enough established heroes for them to compete. Number 9, Marvel's characters die and return more often.
She's gone. No!
Over the years, Marvel has tried to replicate the massive success of the Death of Superman storyline by killing off many of their own characters. One of the more famous examples was the Death of Captain America storyline, which revolved around the assassination of the Star-Spangled Avenger. The X-Men series also hasn't been shy with offing their major players, including the death of Jean Grey, Wolverine, and even Professor X himself. It makes for more dramatic storytelling, we get it, but it kind of breaks the dramatic tension if they all die so frequently, not to mention they come back to life only a few months later. We guess it's only a matter of time before even Uncle Ben comes back too.
Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben?
Number 8, Marvel's events are more frequent.
What do we do, Cap?
We fight.
This is gonna end well.
We're not saying that DC doesn't have their share of large-scale comic book events, like the wildly entertaining Flashpoint or the shocking Death of Superman storylines. However, these events are few and far between, and that's really not a bad thing. Marvel, on the other hand, has been cranking out universe-changing events pretty much every year. Heroes fought heroes in Civil War, and everything changed. Then in Secret Invasion, heroes fought Skrulls disguised as heroes, and everything changed. Then, during the Dark Reign, heroes fought villains disguised as heroes, and everything changed. You starting to get the picture here? Marvel keeps things moving with huge crossover storylines, but DC's massive events definitely have more of an impact. Number 7, the dark sides.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally?
Both companies are nearly equal in terms of representing the dark sides of their respective heroes. However, the interesting differences arise in how they handle their grimmer subject matter.
Sadly, our venue wasn't built with the disabled in mind.
Why are you doing this?
To prove a point. Here's to crime.
Marvel has reserved this more edgy side of their properties for solo characters like Punisher and Daredevil, who you won't often see fighting alongside any of Marvel's iconic names.
The man that hired your lawyers. Who does he work for?
DC, on the other hand, puts Batman, literally the Dark Knight, front and center, and his popularity and influence is what gave superhero comics a more serious tone in the first place. Often parodied and from time to time even taken a little too far, DC definitely puts the darkness front and center.
This is a song I wrote for Wild Style. Darkness. It's about how I'm an orphan. No parents.
Number 6, DC has animation figured out.
If it isn't me, it'll just be someone else.
Really? Who do they send after you?
Whether it's a television series or animated feature, DC undoubtedly has a stranglehold on Marvel in this department. That's not to say that Marvel doesn't release as many outings as its rival company, it's just that DC's hit a much higher level of quality and much more often.
I am not a disgrace. I am vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman.
Marvel has some brilliant strokes with the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man animated series. And while a few other shows since then have done a great job, there just isn't enough in Marvel's animated portfolio.
Nuts.
DC, on the other hand, really knows what they're doing in this department, and DC fans have a lot more to love when it comes to animation.
What we have here is a rare opportunity for me to cut loose and show you just how powerful I really am.
Number 5, DC has a longer history.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive.
able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
Long before Peter Parker squeezed into his Spidey suit, the DC Universe was already bursting at the seams with a laundry list of heroes and villains. Even though both companies kicked off around the same time, it took a generation before Marvel created their big names. Superman had already soared through the sky, Batman was already prowling the rooftops, and The Flash had picked up tons of speed before the Fantastic Four's first issue even hit the shelves. So much of Marvel's success rests on characters who were created in the 60s and 70s, whereas many of the DC heroes we love today have been around since the very beginning. Number 4, DC has more standalone stories.
Stay away from me! Don't come any closer, monster!
We already find it very impressive how both companies somehow managed to find writers and artists capable of delivering brand new storylines each and every month. On top of this already strenuous task, DC somehow manages to find the time and extra bursts of creativity to produce a lot of completely standalone narratives. Alan Moore's groundbreaking novel Watchmen made waves in the comic book community for challenging the conventions of the medium, delivering a truly thought-provoking piece of work.
What happened to the American dream?
What happened to the American dream? It came true. You're looking at it.
Additionally, Grant Morrison wrote the chilling Arkham Asylum, a much more psychological look into the relationship the Dark Knight shares with his rogues gallery. We love traditional monthly issues with overarching plots, but sometimes it's nice to find something fresh and different, something that DC satisfies us with regularly.
Your turn, Doctor. Tell me, what do you see?
Number 3, DC's universe is more fictional. Marvel uses real locations.
Oh yeah, I got something for your ass! You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
From Gotham to Metropolis to Central City, DC's locations are based on real-world cities, but they definitely aren't places that you'll ever find on a map. While these imaginative playgrounds give DC a lot of creative freedom, we appreciate Marvel using real places to add an extra element of reality and believability.
Washington, D.C.
Can you believe that it was even considered a controversial decision back in the day? Both directions have pros and cons. Indeed, Marvel always has to struggle to keep their world intact and constant with the real world, but it really comes down to relatability versus escapism and what you personally want from your superhero stories.
Superheroes in New York? Give me a break.
Number 2, Marvel has more stories and characters that deal with real issues.
You're fired. Go.
Please, I need this job.
You're fired.
But give me another chance.
Speaking of reality and believability helping immerse a reader into a storyline, Marvel's approach to tackle real-world issues can truly register in the eyes of audiences, as they too have experienced very similar dilemmas and situations.
Is there a problem if I have to serve you jerks from the college, but I ain't putting up with any trouble from their kind?
Skin color prejudice? That's so pathetic.
After the devastating 9/11 attacks, Marvel wrote a story featuring Spider-Man, Captain America, and other characters helping out with the recovery and repairs necessary after such a traumatic experience. While everyone has felt anger and loneliness like Bruce Wayne, mutant hatred in the X-Men is just one big allegory for social prejudice. And who hasn't had a boss like Jonah Jameson give them hell at least once in their life?
All right, Mr. Jameson.
Stinks.
Superman has a real job too, but come on, he's never had to worry about paying the bills.
How you doing? Jimmy Olsen, photographer.
Oh, hi. Clark Kent. Nice to meet you.
Number 1, Marvel has their movies figured out.
A hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Wade W. Wilson out of Regina, Saskatchewan lines up the shot.
Marvel has taken the movie industry by storm with some big screen hits like Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Captain America.
You got hard, kid. Where you from?
Queens.
Brooklyn.
Furthermore, they paved the way for multiple films to have a cohesive narrative across multiple entries starring different characters and creating a tangible link between them all.
Mr. Stark.
Captain.
Even before this mega success, Marvel proved itself in the film business with Blade, X-Men, and Spider-Man. DC has a lot of great movies under its belt, with the original 1978 Superman and the Dark Knight trilogy being the standouts. However, recently, DC's attempts to catch up to the Marvel Cinematic Universe have fallen short of expectations, regardless of whether or not you enjoyed the films.
Find him! Save Martha!
Do you agree with our list? What do you think are the most striking differences between Marvel and DC?
That's the best you can do!
For more informative top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
You're getting soft in your old age. Don't you have a tall building to go leap?
And the adventure continues.